Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
Good morning, Cayman. Good morning, beautiful, beautiful parents. We're going to be talking about you guys today. How is everybody doing? Good morning to Evelyn. How you doing, honey child? Good morning to Barbara G. Everyone has a great day. She said she's wishing everyone a great day. Look at Robert. Robert is here for it. Hi, Robert. How you doing? Hope everybody is fantastic. We're going to be talking about a mixed match of things today. And yeah, good birthday yesterday. Didn't do much of anything, which was just fine with me. Absolutely perfect. Went for birthday lunch. Big shout out to Kevin. He treated me for birthday lunch. But, you know, I do my birthday lunches all month long and heck, even into September. Because by the 18th, you know, we already missed 2 weeks of lunching and that sort of thing. So we've got more time. Don't worry. And yeah, we will get there. So let me just see here. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Everyone is starting to prepare for back to school. Is it just me or does this summer just go by so quickly? I think as kids, I felt the same way. I was like, oh man, summer's over already. And as adults now, especially if you got kids, you're feeling the exact same way. Oh man, summer's over already. Oh no, perhaps you're celebrating. Perhaps you're like, yes, summer is over. The kids get to go back to school. That's a good thing for many, I think. It just seemed to have gone by rather quickly, but there you have it. So, you know, I have the usual complaints this time of year about school supplies, and parents are sick and tired of getting these exhaustive lists of school supplies. You know, I think we kind of live in a circular world. Like literally, the world is not flat. It really isn't. Don't believe that now. It's not flat. And so a lot of the issues and complaints that we have are also circular in nature. Because every year, you parents, and I'm talking about the ones now that go to government, your kids go to government schools, you complain about this exhaustive list of school supplies. And I haven't seen any this year, but I doubt much has changed. I think they just give you guys this list as like if I were a parent by year 2 and I saw this list every single year, I wouldn't even pay any mind. You know, I hear your calls and some of you are stressed out about it because you're like, Sandy, it's like pre-K reception. They're sending us this huge list. I'm like, chat, please. Your poor little kids would not even be able to carry a backpack with all those things in it because Hello. Their poor little backs. So I'm not telling you to ignore the list entirely, but ignore the list. Seriously, it's overkill. I wouldn't worry about it. Of course, I say that because I'm not in private schools, so I don't know what the repercussions are if your kid shows up. I'm not saying don't send the kid with anything. Don't show up with anything. I'm just saying, you don't need 50 million pens and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's just ridiculous. So, I think all children love to have a little refresher when they return to school. They like a new, a new little backpack if they can, new pencil kit. Those things are simple. Like, I honestly don't see why any parent should be spending more than a little $50 on your annual school supplies. And so when they're telling you, 20 of these writing books and 50 of this and that, I'm like, nah, that's ridiculous. Don't even bother. That's absolutely ridiculous. What say you, parents? You tell me, because you're in the trenches now. I'm not entirely in the trenches in that regard because, our daughter goes to a private institution. And so we don't have to have any supplies. She just shows up and starts to learn. I refreshed her school uniforms because I am really feeling a way about the length of these uniforms. They are difficult to deal with for me. And she's growing taller. She's not growing any bigger, Lord knows. The child not putting on any weight. I don't think she's even 40 pounds yet. But she was barely 40 pounds. And then I think she's just kind of, depending on what day she steps on the scale, she's tethering on probably more like 38 pounds. So, I did get to some new uniforms that I made her try on, and they seem to come a little bit closer down the knee. Child, let me tell you something. This is where you're starting to age a little bit now. Because back in my day, I went to public school, so we didn't even have school uniforms. We had good old fashioned wear whatever you had in your closet. But we were not about this life of no short shorts and all that kind of stuff. In fact, most days I preferred to put on jeans and a pants. You just felt more comfortable, and you didn't know, when you might have a little situation at recess time or whatever. So you just wanted to be comfortable, as a young lady. But yes, these school uniforms are a little bit crazy. And so it's time now for you guys to go back to buying school uniforms and all the various supplies for your kids. And I know that it's a tough, my apologies. I know it's a tough time for this time of year. So I'm going to actually make another announcement in relation to this that will make some of you happy. So I do have some funding available to help out parents in need. So I helped out a parent yesterday with her bill for school uniform for several of her children. Oh, hold on. I got overhead lighting that's making me look a little bit washed out here today. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me deal with that real quick.
Big things are happening at CMR TV. We're excited to announce that Phase 2 of our expansion project officially launches on September 1st. With this next phase, we're welcoming new partners, new shows, and new opportunities for the Cayman community. From sports coverage to community events and the much-anticipated relaunch of our youth program, there's something for everyone. If you're a middle or high school student who's interested in being part of our new youth show, we want to hear from you. Details and participation criteria will be released soon. But that's not all. We're calling on content creators across the Cayman Islands. If you have a show idea or want to share your voice, this is your chance. Reach out to us at info@cmrtv.com and become part of the growing CMR TV family. We're also excited to announce a brand new feature, the Cayman Music Hour. Each week, we'll spotlight local musicians across all genres, from reggae to soca, hip-hop to gospel. If you're a K-Manian musician and want your music featured on our platform, now is the time to submit. Please note, songs must be free of profanity. And we're not stopping there. Churches, religious organizations, and cultural groups, CMR TV is opening the doors for you too. Whether you want to share services, cultural programs, or community showcases, this is your platform. It's an exciting time at Cayman Marl Road as we continue to grow cmrtv.com into the ultimate destination for news, entertainment, culture, and community. So stay tuned because the best is yet to come.
Yes, honey child, the best is yet to come. So I was saying to you guys that we have some funding available. It's just a small amount. So really and truly, I'm trying to help around school supplies. We have a gentleman who for the past couple of years has stepped forward and assisted with a donation. Now, I have to be a little bit cautious because I bank with CNB, and so I cannot, I want to do so much more. And I know a lot of you have said in the past, hey, I'll give gift cards and all this sort of thing. But I have to be careful because I'm not an NPO, but it looks like I'm going to have to set one up. Like, honestly, I'm going to have to, amongst a million other things on my bucket list and my to-do list, I think I might have to do that, like a little CMR MPO, so that we can organize it properly and we can keep proper records and, do our proper reports, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not doing anything through my accounts because CNB has said for compliance purposes, we cannot do that. And so anyway, I'm hobbling along with my crutches. And so we will pay directly to, the uniform shop to help one or two families with that. If you need some school supplies, I can assist with that as well. Now, for the last couple of years, in recognition of, gotta do something with the hair, in recognition of my birthday, I have also put some funds in the pot, so to speak. Instead of going out there and doing something really big for my birthday, I have also just decided to give back to the community. And so I'm also adding a little bit to it. Now, here's the thing, right? I have a very particular philosophy about helping people. So I don't believe in handouts. I believe in a helping hand. And I know that a lot of parents are struggling. A lot of parents find it difficult, sometimes because of their own poor decisions in the past. And so I need to ensure that when someone comes to me for help, that I'm not helping them continue along a bad path. What I mean by that is, a lot of people say, Sandy, I need help because I've got kids. We all got kids. I mean, that exactly is not a reason per se. Yes, nobody wants children to suffer, but there are a lot of people who are actually using children as an excuse. And I don't believe in encouraging people to continue to make bad decisions. That's why some of y'all got 10 children, because you think, oh, if I have all these kids, then there's always going to be help for me and my kids. No, the world has changed. Ain't nobody got no time for helping 10 children. In fact, you're better off having the one and struggling with the one, and people are more likely to help you with the one when they see that you understand the concept of how to use proper birth control. This is just a reality check. I feel like this is Aunt Lottie talking now, but this is true. So you can't be out there having a million children, being irresponsible with your life and thinking that people are going to help you. I always kind of cross-check when people reach out to me, because y'all know that I don't know you and you think that's going to work to your advantage. It really doesn't, because I still be checking my sources like, who is this person? Oh, she not no good. All she got is her boyfriend up in jail and she can find money to go give him and take him drugs and this and that. And y'all know people talk your business and people know your business. So if you fall into that category where you're really not trying to help yourself, like you're not out there going to interviews, trying to find meaningful employment, stop hanging out with these deadbeat men who all they want to do is breed people for no good reason. They're not going to support you. Then I'm not the person to reach out to for help. I'm just being 100. Don't reach me for help if that's your life story. I mean, sorry, but you're going to have to go to NAU, stand in line, and see what they can do for you. Because I am a firm believer in helping people who are interested in actually improving their lives and helping themselves. So when you reach out, oh, Miss Sandy, can I get that? I'm going to ask you some questions. Got a job? No. Have you applied for a job? No. Registered in the job portal? No. Okay. It's starting to not look too good for you and your kids, unfortunately. That's what I'm going to say. Queue up with NAU. Because what is beginning to happen now is that even NAU is getting sick and tired of these people using the system. So NAU is kind of, putting requirements in place. You got to register for the job portal. We're going to send you in job interviews. They're going to do all of this stuff, and you have got to comply. So when you find people who, don't want to comply, all of a sudden they're going to be coming to other sources to try to get assistance. I am not that other source. I hate to tell you, but I love to tell you, I'm not that other source. So this is where it becomes now a matter of a helping hand versus a handout. We can't give you a handout in life because that doesn't really teach you anything of value. You've got to be prepared, folks, to help yourselves. And so, I'm happy to help you where I can, but there's certain criteria now that have to be put in place. Okay, so that's where we're at. If you, are just a little bit short, we've all been in situations in life where despite our best efforts, we're a little bit short with some funding for stuff around school time. That's when you need to reach out. If you are trying, you're actually trying, and you're doing what you need to do right by your kids, then you reach out. By your Caymanian children, then you can ask for assistance. All right, so on that vein, I do have some donated items as well. Turns out Gigi's feet are growing. She's growing taller and her feet are growing. Nothing else seems to be growing, but so I do have a bag of shoes. If you have a child, a daughter, probably best. Some shoes are kind of unisex, but most are, for girls. I think most of them are going to be a size 12. So now she's wearing a size 13. So if you're in need of size 12 shoes, and there's some dresses that are like little outfits and tops and stuff. And I tell you, some of them are like not even worn, like, she has a closet full of clothes, I'll be honest. Those are probably size 5, 4, 5. She's kind of wearing a 6 right now, but not really. She has to wear a 6 for the length to cover, like she's taller, so it doesn't cut off at the mid ankle. But in the waist, she's still like a size 3 or 4. She's very, very tiny. But still, we go for the length, and then we can take in the waist. And she's into like baggy jeans right now. She's loving some baggy jeans that we got when we were away. She just wants to wear them around the house. She's like, oh, these are so cool. So I know that we put a couple bags together of like T-shirts and a few dresses and stuff like that. So if you have a daughter that is wearing like a size 12 shoe and is relatively petite, I guess, and wearing probably 4 or 5 shirts and dresses, then you can certainly reach out to me. I'm on crutches, so I ain't going to be driving all over Kingdom Come to bring you anything as well. So we're going to have to pick a drop-off point, and you're going to have to make your way. And that's going to be that. Child, somebody I'll be like, yes, can you come to me all the way out in Timbuktu? Get on a boat, and I'm like, no. All right. So Abby says, back to traffic. She's crying emoji. I know, Abby, I know. It's tough. The traffic is like, woosa. Yeah, sorry, Abby. Yep, traffic all over. Let me see. Oh, Aliano, good morning. How are you? Emma's with us this morning. Marshall joining us from North Carolina. Leroy, hello, Mr. Leroy. All right, Miss Lucio says a very good morning. I can see you. Enjoy your special day. I'm in the school. And the school buenos too? What does that mean? I get nothing free. I don't like the begging. I don't behave much, but I try my best. The need to adjust that school list is crazy. Love you all. So yeah, so I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen this year's school list, and I really do want to ask why the school list is so crazy. Someone said, don't give the bag of shoes to just one parent. The bag can help a few kids. Yes, I mean, because there's quite a few pairs of shoes in there for sure. The only issue with that is I ain't going to be driving all over the place trying to meet up 50 million parents either. So we're going to have to figure that one out and how to kind of coordinate that. But again, some of them are relatively not used. You know, kids, right? You guys know how kids are. They get fixated in like one outfit and one pair of shoes. And no matter how much stuff you have for them, that's all they're going to wear. So then you have other stuff that's like brand new that never even gets worn. All right, Miss Joy, thank you so much. She says, wishing you a speedy recovery. I thank you for that. Miss Alba says, buenos dias, Sandy. ¿Cómo estás, corazón? Estoy muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? By the way, when we were away for summer, our cousins are using this. I think they use Duolingo. So they're all like learning different languages. Like one of the kids is trying to do, was it Mandarin? Somebody's doing Spanish, Mandarin, something else. There's all these new Fandango tools to help you learn a foreign language. And I was like, maybe I need to be practicing my Espanol on the daily so that I can, I was very, very fluent at one point. I must tell you, I was pretty good. I could hold a conversation. But thank you for that suggestion about the shoes. Yes, definitely. And I'm putting a little donation together for my folks in Jamaica as well. But I always believe in helping here first. Charity starts at home. So I really try to help where I am. So Miss Lucille, thank you. Oh, you're doing the school run. All right. Hello to the beautiful Mitzi Callan in the house. How you doing, beautiful? So good to see you. Ingrid, thank you so much for the well wishes. Appreciate it. All right, so if you need any assistance with the school supplies, reach out to me. What I'll probably do is call the supply stores and just, allow you to go and pick up the supplies. Now, some of y'all are shady AF, just FYI. And what you end up doing is you end up actually, like if someone gives you a gift card, you go and try to sell the gift card back to get money and doing the most. So I don't know why some of y'all are so dishonest. And, those sorts of things, unfortunately, don't really help anyone. It hurts everyone. So, I feel like, a lot of times what we end up doing is having to work around and kind of put these things in place for everyone, where we actually end up, like you go to the store and then you get what you want and then they'll just send me the bill kind of vibe. And these are the precautions because there's so many people out there trying to use somebody. It's really bad because it really does reflect poorly on everyone. Anywho, honey child, we gotta be playing detective work around here. All right, let me see then. So there was an interesting article that, let me see here now. Yes, there was an interesting article that recently came out talking about money in relation to our spending habits here in Cayman. It is interesting because, I feel like the gap between the haves and the have-nots have definitely, changed and the gap has gotten wider. But at the same time, a lot of people are obviously, based on this report, living a life that is most likely above our means. So Cayman household spending reaches 3.06 billion. I know somebody said, are you sure that's not million? It's billion in 2023. That's an 80% increase from the 2025 levels. And this is according to this household budget survey. This is the actual 2023 report. Now, it's good, big shout out to the ESO, that they do these reports, because I think that the reports can give you a real insight into exactly what our spending habits are, and quite frankly, what's going on in this country. So if you don't have a copy of the report and you'd like it, let me see, how many pages is it? It's not, I don't think it's that big. It's like 37 pages. So it's not huge. And it has a lot of insightful information in it. And I think it's important for all of us to perhaps look at this and contemplate, where are we spending our money? What's, where's the money going? And so let's have a look for a little bit this morning so we can do a bit of a deep dive into this report. Now, speaking of reports, I know some of you are anxiously waiting for me to do my assessment on what's now, it's kind of a new name, but it was formerly the Tourism Attraction Board. I've been talking about it now going into 2 weeks almost from the day we started the whole church fiasco. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten about it. I am continuing to investigate and speak to a wide variety of individuals, because I don't want anyone to sit down and say, oh, Sandy's information is tainted because she only got it from one source. No. Oh, no, Bobo. Oh, no. Honey, child, I am talking to so many people, it ain't even funny. So I haven't forgotten about that. That's coming, but there is quite a bit that is going to be involved in that particular expose. So hang tight. So where are y'all spending your money? This is the budget report. Again, big shout out to the ESO. This is why it's important for you to participate when the Economics and Statistics Office comes knocking, and you are able to then get accurate information. In the United States of America, let's say before Trump, report gathering was a significant and important part of what they did. And I think it's very, very important to have accurate information. So right now we're in the month of August, they can talk about July job stats and all this sort of thing, because they get information pretty much in as real time as you possibly can. So the fact that we're looking at a 2-year-old survey, the data from that, not for nothing, but we should be having reports that are much closer in real time. So that's the only critique I'm going to make. And that's not so much a critique of the ESO, although it may be. It is more of a critique on how we, as people in this community, don't even want to participate in these types of surveys. Y'all are scared when the ESO, I don't want to tell them my business. I'm like, really? Y'all need to get over it. Everybody know your business because you're out there flossing in the streets anyway. So you think people don't know your business, and they surely do. So there's a number of things in here. They tell you what the purpose of the household budget survey is, and they say it's to collect data necessary for developing a new CPI basket. So you might remember that the CPI basket is the consumer, let me get the term right now, Consumer Price Index Basket Report. And they've got one scheduled to be released in late 2025. So ahead of this, they're presenting the 2023 Consumer Price Index, details. And so this HBS is an important part of that. So they say that the sample size is 2,400 randomly selected households across all 3 islands. They did it over a 12-month period of time from February 2023 to January of 2024. And there's quite a bit to unpack even in this little report. So we're going to try to do some of that here this morning. Budgeting is something I feel like a lot of us struggle with for a variety of different reasons. Probably the central and main reason is simply because we were not taught any better. We were not taught how to manage our money, nothing about finance. You know, it's tough out here when you don't know how to handle money. Listen, we've all been there. Give me 1 second. Right? So this discussion is going to hopefully demystify some of this report and allow people to really think about their financial position and how they could be educating themselves and perhaps even making better decisions about their financial life. And it comes down a lot to financial literacy. Okay. Okay. So most of us have not had the benefit of a financial literacy course. Mostly what happens is we figure it out on our own. You go bankrupt, you're like, oh man, I can't make that mistake again. Or, you struggle for years not being able to pay your bills. I had someone recently say to me, Sandy, I am struggling because I don't make enough money. And I thought that was interesting because I said, okay, what is the solution? And right away, I'm a very solution-driven individual. So problem, this is how my brain thinks, okay? Problem over here, solution over here. So the second you say something to me, I'm already thinking, how can we fix that? What's the solution? Now, solutions are not always linear, but if you're in a position where unfortunately you don't make enough money to live whatever lifestyle you're trying to live, and I'm not saying it's flashy, you're trying to cover your basic utilities, you want to enjoy life just a little bit, you're like, you can't, you want to travel, that's difficult for you. We need to look at how to fix that. And the solution isn't to go to somebody else to say, oh, can you help me financially? No, that's not a long-term solution. And nobody's going to be helping you financially forever. I mean, that's just not how it works. Unless they're your spouse and they're getting something in return, you're cooking and cleaning for them, you're being their spouse, hugging them up, giving them some loving something. They're not likely going to be motivated to just be giving you proverbial handouts. So you have to look at, okay, what is it that I could be doing differently? There's really only a few things, quite frankly, that you can do differently if you are in a position where you are not making enough. Now, even when someone says that to me, I do have to admit that, my brain goes to, what does it mean to make enough money, right? Make enough money to do what? To live comfortably? But what is your definition of living comfortably? You're not homeless. I'm assuming you have a roof over your head. Are you paying rent? Are you paying utilities? How much of your money goes towards food and eating out and all these other things? I'm a late bloomer when it comes to financial literacy and making better decisions in my life. I really, really am. And so I've been there. I've made all the mistakes, like having credit cards that Lord knows you didn't need to have, and you weren't in a position to use it. And it was great when you're buying stuff. And then, when it comes time to pay, you're like, oh yeah, I got to have this extra money to pay it. Credit cards they're like the devil, the spawn of the devil, because the interest rates on those are cray. Many, many years ago, we were kind of, selling our condo and looking for our house. And I remember that we had some neighbors who were renting from us. And it was so interesting because one of them actually worked for a bank. And working for a bank does not mean that you have any more financial literacy than anybody else. And they wanted to purchase their apartment. So we said, okay, well, this is what it's going for. And they went to the bank to see it was a couple, on what they could qualify for. Well, the bank said you could qualify for the apartment. However, you would have to get rid of your credit cards. And do you know that they came back and they said, nope, we live on our credit cards. We shop online. I can't remember what they were using, some Chinese site it wasn't the big ones that you guys use now. This is quite a number of years ago, probably like 9-10 years ago. But anyway, they were like, no, we shop online for the kids. And so that's more important than getting a house or an apartment. And I was like, oh, okay. That's the message I heard, because they're like, no, we can't get rid of our credit cards, because they couldn't live without the credit cards, which means, I think the bank realized that they were living above their means, because if you have credit card debt and you're having to use that to float yourself from 1 month to the next, then that's a problem. That is a serious problem. And you're doing that at an exorbitant interest rate. What's the going rate now on credit cards? 20-something%? And so again, she's just a bank teller at the bank. No one has sat down with her and talked about, and I think the banks could even play a much broader role in this, offering people financial literacy courses, but not even to them. We're like, do you realize how much money you were actually paying every single month on that credit card, just the interest? And it's like you pay down a little and then you go spend the money again, and you're paying interest, you're paying the purchase price of the goods, and then you're paying all this interest on top of it. And so it was kind of a sad indictment, quite frankly, that this person actually said to me, we can't give up our credit card because we're living credit card to credit card, month to month. And so, although we would qualify for it if we got rid of this debt, because our debt to service ratio was too high with the card, we can't get rid of the card. I'm like, okay. I said, no problem. I mean, you gotta make decisions in life, and you obviously have to understand, what your limitations are. If it's more important for you to live on credit, which a lot of Americans do, by the way, they're the biggest consumers, I think, of living on credit, and not actually owning anything. They just live credit card to credit card. Then there are implications that come with that. So Jim says credit cards is a vicious cycle to many. And that's why for many years, I did not have a credit card after I made my fair mistakes with them as well. So I get it. And I get how easy it is. There's a lot of things that I pay cash for. And I remember one time, one of my bank managers said, but you have a credit card, but you're still using your debit card. And I'm like, that's because for so many years, I didn't have a credit card. So I'm like, if I don't have cash for it, I'm not buying it. Then they're like, well, you could be earning travel points. That's kind of how they get you, girl, to start using that credit card. But, we have to really start to even talk to our children about the necessity for them to think wisely about money from a very, very early age. So when my daughter sees me taking out that debit card, she doesn't know what that is. So if she wants something and I say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any money, she actually hasn't seen like real money very often. I mean, she has a little piggy bank, but you know what I mean? She's like, oh, but you have that card. And I said, oh, really? I said, do you know how that card works? No. Okay. That card isn't a magic card. It's not a magic bean. On the other side of that card is attached to a bank, and you better have money in that account in order to be able to spend it. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And you know where money comes from? No. Mom has to have a job. Mom works. She's like, you do? Lord have mercy. Mm-hmm. I said, yes. In fact, Mom works very, very hard. All those nights you see me go to bed every single night after midnight, that's because I'm up working. I don't have a traditional 9-to-5 job, but I'm doing stuff, I'm working, and that's how we pay the bills. You got to kind of break it down to children, because they don't always get it. They don't understand. They just see the stuff shows up and they're thinking, oh. So there are a lot of times that I will purposely say no to her. It's not that I can't afford it. It's that I won't afford it. Being able to say no and make children think, oh, wow, I don't get everything that I want from a financial perspective, right? We had a conversation over the weekend. She was saying that she's never going to move out. I said, really? I said, listen here, honey child. I know you're an only child, but you will be moving out. So I don't know what you're talking about. 18, get out the front door. Of course, I'm joking. I'm not going to probably be that strict. Maybe. We'll see. It depends on what she's doing with her life. If she ain't doing nothing and she's trying to be a deadbeat girl around the place. And of course she's gonna have to get out. I don't care if she's the only child or not. And I said, no, that's not how it works. You don't get to live with mom and dad forever just because. Are you going to be in school? Are you going to have a job? Oh, no, she's not going to have a job. So then she went complaining to her dad about how I said I'm going to kick her out at 18. Of course, didn't give him the full story that I said that because there's no plan for schooling or a job, is what she was saying to me in the next breath. And I'm like, no. We ain't supporting no deadbeat nobody around here. So you have to start making sure that you're putting these very consistent messages in your children's brains from day one. You've got two options once you become adult in the real world, right? And I got to tell you, in 10 years, the real world will have changed from what it is today. So, educated children are now finding a much more difficult time, navigating, getting, right now, the hardest category of people to find a job are college graduates. They are struggling incredibly because they're low level, low entry, no experience. And those are the jobs that AI can easily take from them with ease. And so that's challenging because they're competing with AI and AI is giving them a run for their money. So some of them have good degrees in coding and this and that, and they're going to be out there flipping burgers. It's still a job. And there is no shame in an honest day's work, regardless of what it is that you're doing. But would it be great if they could be doing something in their fields, like they went to university and studied for 4 years? Yes. So I think that what you're going to find is a lot of young people will now discover that maybe the entrepreneurial side of them is going to be significant in how they're going to navigate their lives, because it's no longer going to be the case like you got this 4-year college degree and then you run out here and there's going to be a job automatically waiting for you. Times have changed. And so once again, parents, you got to keep up with this stuff and make sure that you're in a position to explain it to your children and help them navigate the changing world. So this person says credit cards are better used as a way of paying during the month than paid off at the end of the month. It builds credit and also earns points. Yes, that is if you have the discipline to do that. Unfortunately, because it's not mandatory that you pay it off in full, what you find people doing is they'll use it. They'll use it and pay bills and buy stuff on Amazon and Temu and wherever else y'all are shopping all over the place. But when it comes to paying it off, they're going to pay the bare minimum. And that is where you get in trouble. So this person says, good morning. I've been living without a credit card for over 20 years. Best decision I've made. I spend what I have and live within my means most of the time. Yep, I feel you. All right, so let's look some more at this report. So there's some details in the report in terms of, this is the 5th one that they've done in ESO history. The first one was conducted back in 1984. It'll be interesting to do an analysis from the 1984 one, the last 5 reports. You know what? I'm going to ask them if we can get them to kind of see how our habits are changing in relation to household budgets. The second one was done in the early 90s, from 90 to 91. Third one was 2007. And then the third one conducting conjectures. Okay. And then the fourth one, let me see. When was the fourth one? They said the third one, I don't know. Where did they say the fourth one? Okay, they don't say. Anyway, they go on to tell you that the main purpose of this household budget survey is to collect data necessary, again, for developing a new CPI basket. And this CPI is the country's indicator of inflation and wages, salaries, pension, electricity rates, which are often adjusted to reflect changes in the CPI or cost of living. So this is important. That's why it's important for us to have this discussion. I know some of y'all was sitting here this morning saying, Sandy, can't we talk about the viral video yesterday with the one trying to steal bottled water, or the fight with the hooligans at Bananas over the weekend? Yes, we could talk about all of those things. That's a regular daily conversation, but this is an important conversation for us to be having. Okay, so we got to mix it up, folks. We got to be willing to learn a little bit. So Cayman Islands residents spent an estimated $3.06 billion in 2023. This is an 80% increase over 2015. Wow. Now, to be fair, most of that is actually being driven by population growth of 41% and a 31.3% aggregate inflation. These are some big words now. So if we need to understand what any of this means, by all means, stop me, because we have the tools available, honey child, to break it down and to explain what this means. So let's just say that we don't understand what aggregate inflation even means, because y'all like, well, I didn't take an accounting course. What the heck does that mean? We can plug it in thanks to AI. I've got an AI assistant right here now that I don't have to pay any money to. Actually, I do pay because I get the good AI features, and you got to pay for that, right? So aggregate inflation, let me break this down for you in terms of exactly what that means. Hold on a second, honey, chill. Because we're not the experts here. Miss Marla is the expert with this kind of stuff, and I know she could break it down for us. But in lieu of having her in the show, we still need to be having these discussions and understanding, what these things mean. All right. So Class A, aggregate inflation refers to the overall increase in the general price level of goods and services across an entire economy over a given period of time. Very good definition. I think most of us can understand that. And then we go into it a little bit further. In the context of the Cayman Islands Household Budget Survey, aggregate inflation means the cumulative percentage increase in the cost of the consumer basket. So in other words, the average spending pattern of residents between the last survey, which was back in 2015, and the current survey, 2023. So again, I do want to say that I think we could do a much better job of increasing the times that we do the survey, because between 2023 and 2015, that is what, how many years? 8 years, is that right? Quite a bit has happened. I mean, we've seen substantial growth in the population, and other things have happened in terms of the economy. So even to have a report like this every other year would be extremely useful to ensuring that the consumer price index is so much more accurate, right? Okay. So they're talking about prices for consumer goods and services rose by that percentage, and that is 31.3% during that 8-year period of time. So in summary, the aggregate inflation is the broad average rate at which prices have increased in the economy over a certain period, affecting the cost of living for all residents. Okay, so an inflationary increase of 31.3% in the past 8 years. Not for nothing, but that sounds a little bit high to me. All right. Very good. So let's see here now. We're going to put the report back up. There we go. Want to make sure that you guys have access to the report. So some key takeaways from the Household Budget Survey 2023. We talked about this 31.3% aggregate inflation. Per capita expenditure. So average annual spend was $36,284 per person. That's Grand Cayman. So the average was between the three islands. Grand Cayman is a little bit more at $36,581. Sister Islands is $25,536. So there's an increase here of 27.7% again over that same 8-year period of time. So our expenditure has gone up by 27.7% in the past 8 years. It's interesting that the sister islands come in a little bit more than $10,000 annually per person. But I also think that there are some things for sure in the sister islands that would be cheaper. I mean, housing tends to be cheaper there. You probably don't have as much in the way of transportation costs. They just don't, they don't have transportation, I guess you have a car. But yeah, there's things that are not as available there as well in terms of what it is that you're spending your money on. But having said that, so I would think that your food and non-alcoholic beverage is in the BRAC, or the sister islands might be a little bit of a different kind of spend. But the other thing in relation to this that got me to wondering about the difference between the sister islands and Grand Cayman is also your ability to make money, I think, is going to be very, very different on the sister islands, right? Okay. So where do we spend our money? I don't think there's any surprise here. So give me a quick second. I'm going to pull this up on the screen. The biggest spending categories include, no shockers. Let me see here. All right. Housing, utilities, gas, and fuels. 32.7% of your spend. That makes sense. Have any of you ever, let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever actually done a proper analysis of where your money goes? You know the easiest way to do it, and I started doing this years ago, and it really was an eye-opener for me. I use QuickBooks for business, and I started to use QuickBooks for personal expenses as well. And honey child, you would probably be a little bit surprised as to where your money is going. Yeah. And so there's no harm. I mean, there's all sorts of apps now on your phones, your smart devices, where you can track where your money goes, because there are people who make, say, $3,500 a month. And every paycheck, they're broke. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And you say to them, well, where does your money go? They can't tell you. I think all of us need to have an idea of where money is going and what we're actually spending it on. So start tracking your money to see where it goes. Write down everything. Just try it for a good month, right? 1 or 2 months. Have one of these budgeting and household apps and whatever show you, demonstrate to you where your money is going. And you might be surprised. So we think of the big ones. Housing. That's probably, depending on your house now, that might be one of the biggest ones. Housing, utility, gas. Yeah. And give me 1 second. And fuel. Makes sense. You got a huge mortgage, anything related to that, insurance, upkeep of your homes, utilities. So that's all of your, CUC bill, water bill, gas and fuel. And then transport takes up another huge chunk. But keep in mind that there are people who don't even have a mortgage, right? They don't have that expense. Maybe they've already paid off their mortgage, but yet they're still struggling to make ends meet and to keep up and to pay. And so then the question becomes, where does your money go? You see this food and non-alcoholic beverage category, 302.8 million, 9.9%. These are the biggest spending categories. For some people, this category is at 9.9%. It's much more than this. They're going out to happy hours. They're always drinking. Every day they're at the coffee shop. You go to the coffee shop every day and you're buying a latte or whatever y'all drinking, and a donut and a this and that, and then you're eating out for lunch. This is where I found for restaurants So I put food and beverage like under one thing. I found that that's where I was wasting a lot of money when I started budgeting and seeing where my money was actually going. It was shocking because you don't think about it. You go out for lunch, you spend a little $10, $15 here. Some days you spend way more than that. And you start to add it together. It's like, oops, I'm spending a lot of money eating out. Rebecca says making my own coffee was a big savings for me. Yes, Rebecca, you get yourself that little coffee machine. You might think to yourself, all right, if I get a good coffee machine, it might cost me $150, depending on what kind of coffee you like, but it's going to save you money in the long run. She says a small latte is about $6 to $7 per cup. Now, you guys complain a lot about the cost of things in Cayman. I'm not saying that the cost of things in Cayman are not what they are, but every time I travel, I see the cost of things other places, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, and it's not far off. Not for nothing, but you go to a restaurant and you have an alcoholic beverage, it's like the same price, but it's US dollars. Okay, do the conversion, right? So yes, sometimes there are things that you can find cheaper. They're operating on volume, population size, etc. But there's a lot of stuff. If you're using the same types of habits, eating out at restaurants, going for coffee every single morning, those things add up exponentially as well. Morning, Blissful British. How are you? Someone, Aisle 2025 says, do you know of a free app for tracking expenses? I haven't looked at any, but hold on a second. Let's ask my AI assistant. Okay, for tracking expenses. And not just tracking expenses, Aisle, but also budgeting. This is what I find happens with a lot of people, and they kind of go hand in hand. You're not tracking expenses, but you're also not even budgeting. Like you don't sit down, the month is coming now, say for example, September is coming up. You don't think about what expenses in September do I need to plan for? And this is where you guys go awry. Even as we started the conversation talking about school time, you got stuff for the kids, whatever. It's because you haven't mastered budgeting why you're having an issue with school supplies and so forth, right? Because you can't be taking your vacation during the summer, having a fabulous time, taking everybody to Orlando and spending all this money and not thinking about, well, in 2 weeks, school is going to restart. And I need to come up with X amount for school supplies for my 2 or 3 kids. I need to come up with uniform money. I need to, if they're in private school, I need to come up with tuition money. All this stuff becomes due. And so if you don't even know how to budget, once again, you're going to have a problem. And budgeting, you've got to have that little cushion of unforeseen, because life happens, right? Unforeseen spends. So the car breaks down. Where's the money going to come from? Oh, I didn't budget for that. Really? Because in life, nothing ever just happens? Come on. So you got to budget for the AC's busted, right? My refrigerator goes out. I have a medical emergency. I was saying this to someone the other day. It does not take much to make you go bankrupt in this world. And one of the biggest ways in which that can easily happen is if you have a medical emergency. Because your insurance is not infinite. They cap you at a certain amount. You have a major illness, you have cancer, you get in a car accident, whatever. All of a sudden, you ain't got no money. And that's not going to just impact your bills, like your current bills, that's going to impact your savings and everything else. So there's a number of free apps for tracking personal expenses and budgeting that can help you for your household expenses. So aisle 2025, just make a note of these and you can check them out individually on your own. I'm going to give you just the top 5 or so. And then you can research them individually. All right, so some things to consider is if it allows you to do local currency support, so you can put in KYD, because obviously that amount is different. The conversion and so forth is actually different. Some people like to be able to do it from the computer, so some of them have a web interface as opposed to just on like a smartphone and stuff as well. So here's some recommendations. Again, I have not tried any of these personally. I use QuickBooks, which gives me quite sufficient, capabilities. I have to use it for my business anyway, so I just kind of cross-reference it for personal use. But here's it. There's one called Mint that you can do iOS, Android, and web. You can do all sorts of stuff, linking bank accounts, credit cards. Now, most of these are not going to give us in Cayman the ability to seamlessly link bank accounts because, they're based on the US banking system. But you need to be able to reconcile what's happening with your bank account as opposed to also what's happening in the real world, right? You can automatically categorize bills, track spending, provides budgeting tools, and so on. You have one called Good Budget, available across the same platforms. Wallet by Budget Bakers. So there's that one. There's another one called Spendy that has some options there for you. It says it's simple and it has a good visual interface. Every Dollar. And it's a zero-based budgeting tool, manual expense input, monthly budget planning, and fast to set up. Very easy for beginners. Another one called Money Manager. And YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. That one says free trial, so it looks like there's an associated cost with that. So check those out if you're interested. And maybe get back to us and let us know if any of those tools you find particularly helpful, okay? So yes, and you know what else we spend a lot of money on, speaking of that, aisle 2025, that sometimes we don't think about? All these little subscriptions. Now, I subscribe to a lot of different things, I got to tell you. There's an app in the US that keeps track of your subscriptions for you. And there are times when you're paying for a subscription and you forget. So every once in a while, I go in to my PayPal and I clean up, because you know how they do automatic, you set it up and every month it automatically you pay and you don't even know what you're paying for. How many of you are like paying Netflix subscriptions and Hulu subscriptions and all these little, you're like, oh, it's only like, $9.99, but it adds up. So I try to keep an eye on my subscriptions as well, because I'm subscribing to a lot of apps. I can count them as a work expense. I'm not too, I don't have any Netflix accounts or anything like that. I don't deal with that. I'll leave all that stuff up to Marlon. And we don't really need it because, we have our own resources to be able to watch anything that we want to watch. So I don't really pay for any of that, but I do know that we have a Netflix account because he'll pull it up on the screen. I pay for YouTube Premium because I can't stand the commercials. I'm paying for multiple subscriptions for newspapers. So like The Economist and then I have to evaluate every so often. When was the last time I actually read The Economist? When was the last time I read I paid for Miami Herald, Washington Post, The Economist. Let me see which other ones. So there's probably about 5 at least subscriptions that I have just for media and news alone. Miami Herald, Washington Post, Miami Herald. And so you got to keep track of these things because again, they can seep money. Wall Street Journal, but for me, those are a necessary expense when it comes to business and the ability to read articles and to do research. Now, if I haven't read The Economist in the past 5 months, I got to go, hold on a second. Is that an expense that I actually need? So at some point, we have got to really sit down and think about where we're spending our money. And does it even make sense to be spending money in those particular areas? Okay, so restaurants and accommodations, 8.8%. Insurance and financial services now formally measured $208.2 million. That is 6.8%. All right. It says that the lowest 20%, this is the spending gap, the lowest 20% spend around $11,739 a year, and the highest 20% spend $69,199, and this is a strong indicator of what they call inequality. Now, it's called the quintile spending gap, and this is very, very interesting. I feel like Ms. Marla could do a whole thing on this, but if you look at the actual, when it comes to the main findings, if you look at page 19 of the report, it talks about this finding. Give me 1 second here. Morning, Miss Marjorie. Yes. So it talks about this consumption expenditure by, I think it's pronounced quintile, 1. So they look at the lowest 20% per capita household consumption expenditure, and then the highest group, which is the highest 20% per capita, and they're looking at everything there in terms of how they're spending their money. Food, non-food, and total consumption expenditure. And so we see a substantial gap. So this is the gap now that in common lingo, we would say between the haves and the have-nots. Okay? And what does this mean? I would love to see, as an economist, perhaps her interpretation of what this gap means for people in the Cayman Islands. The gap is huge. But how does that gap in real terms impact our lives? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. That's a question. Okay, but I know that this is significant. So the share of food in each group's total consumption expenditure declined from the lowest quintile 17.1% to the highest, which is 6.7%. And then the share of non-food expenditure also trended upward. All right. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other expenditures, fuel. So they say that in this area, this represents the largest expenditure division compared to 2025. It did go down to 32.7%, but rentals, so we know housing is pushing the cost up for everyone. So rentals for owner-occupied housing continue to account for the largest share, although it did fall slightly, the notation says here. Actual rentals had the highest rate of increase among the groups, followed by electricity, gas, and other fuels, water supply, miscellaneous services relating to the dwelling. And the latter two groups have stable shares of that. So maintenance and minor repairs of dwelling showed a large increase from 6.37 million in 2025 to 39.45 million in 2024. That's huge in 8 years. And I'm curious about why that is, right? So maintenance and minor repairs and dwellings, is that because we have, properties that are like aging out, they're older properties now, and so we're spending more money and trying to upgrade and fix these properties? How do we jump from 6.37 million to 39.45 million in just a span of 8 years? So there's a lot of very, very detailed information in this report. And I've sent it to Ms. Marla's team because I would love to see her kind of dissect this even more for us and come to certain conclusions about what all of this means. Now, here's another reason why you should care about this sort of stuff. Because I know you're like, chat, please, this is above my pay grade. Except it shouldn't be, because we have elected officials who they themselves can't read this report and understand it and have any major takeaways. So they are making decisions that will impact our ability to purchase vehicles, public transportation, service and goods, housing, mortgages, all these things, right? And if they don't understand how this household budget survey translates into, well, okay, how does this actually affect our lives? This is where we're spending our money. What is it that we need to do in order to get some of these expenditures under control, if we can? Because that's a big question. Because what I can tell you is, I know y'all are looking at this and somebody said, oh, Cayman's population growth is ridiculous. But I can tell you that this isn't something that is really unique to Cayman at all. All over the world. Right now, we have mortgage payments, rent, utilities. People are unable to sustain themselves in Europe, in the US. The housing markets are like, Florida is becoming untenable for so many people because of the cost of insurance. They get hit by a couple storms, and all of a sudden, insurance has gone through the roof. And so now the what do they call the housing associations? They're requesting all sorts of reports. The insurance companies like, nope, we can't insure you unless you come with these reports in hand to make sure this is a safe building. And now a large portion of housing is unattainable because of the cost of insurance. Even though people might have owned their homes. Oh my God, now we can't afford it anymore. So there is quite a bit that we can unpack from this. And there's quite a bit also that we have to understand that is actually outside of our control. And what does that mean when it's outside of your control? Does that mean that, our legislators can do only so much and no more? I wish that they would start to have these conversations with us, because we need to understand how this works. If you look at right now, any of the housing news that's like trending, you will understand that unfortunately, it's not trending in a positive way for people being able to afford housing. Right? Just 6 days ago, there was a U.S. housing market analysis from Freddie Mac. Talked about, they look at a number of different things, trends, key trends that are actually going to be shaping the market. But one of the big questions is, why are home prices so high? Right? And how today's markets impact housing cost. So the median cost of a house in the United States of America right now is over $400,000. I know some of you might probably find that a bit shocking and surprising, because you think, oh, I can go to a house, I can go to States and buy something for $150,000, $200,000. No, you can't. The median, meaning the average, is over $400,000. And there has been a steady increase in the cost of median home prices, with a dramatic jump that began in 2020. Prices peaked in October of 2022. They fell sharply, but guess what? According to the US Census Bureau, they've already released data through the second quarter of 2025. Home prices remain higher than those of the pre-pandemic days. Now, depending on location, some are seeing a slight drop. So Austin, Texas, for example, prices dropped 5% between July of 2024 and July of 2025. But still, the national home price remains above $400,000, and mortgage rates increase are much higher than they were pre-pandemic. And when you're looking for your first, if you're a first home buyer, they'll tell you, ooh, this is not really the best optimal time for a first home buyer. A lot of it has to do with the exact same principles that impact us. Demand is outpacing supply. And then there's also something called the rate lock effect, where higher mortgage rates are actually considered a driving factor in the acquisition of homes as well. The point that I'm making here is that there's economic stressors that impact us. Everything from the cost of food, the supply chain, all of these things, and we do not live in isolation. So this is something that impacts all of us, both locally and those abroad as well. So there's a lot really to unpack here. Here's something else specific to our trends. Health spending per capita skyrocketed in excess of 16.9% a year, right? Now, the good news is spending on alcohol, tobacco, and miscellaneous goods and services, transport, and recreation dropped. I only say that's good news because, you could eliminate the necessity to spend on certain things completely. And one of those things you can definitely eliminate it on is alcohol and tobacco. Food share surged. Transport share fell due to possible congestion, import policies, and alternative options. So that one I thought was a bit interesting. Factors that, again, impacted us, obviously COVID. There's different and newer consumer habits post-COVID, population growth, higher inflation. And what is it that we now need to do? We've just gotten word from the government, since they've taken over, this new government, that they're going to go ahead with the minimum wage increase. And so now there's a question of implication, really, the impact, if you will, on wage growth and living wage calculations. So since housing accounts for nearly a third of our household budgets, the upward pressure from rentals, home values, upkeep, and utilities is extremely significant. So we need to look at some of those as well. Rent and rising utility costs at the top of our list. What about healthcare? We saw something, I want to say maybe a month or so ago, about the cost of healthcare in Cayman. And a lot of it comes down to, there has been a dramatic rise in health expenditure, but it's not because your physicians are out there killing you with pricing. In fact, I know some of them right now are listening to this program saying, Sandy, we have not had an increase we have not had an increase in our base rate. I think it's based on the, what's it called? The stitch, whatever rate that they can charge in 20 years. Oh, someone says the radio's off. Oh, Lord. Hold on a second. I don't know what happened there. You lost your connection. Oh. Okay, honey, chill. Let's try to. We actually have some, the usual way that I connect isn't working at the moment. So we have a backup option, and then Looks like that dropped out for some reason. So hopefully we can get back on the radio. My apologies. So, yes, I mean, this is something to really consider and contemplate, because the physicians are not it's not the cost of the healthcare in that sense, right? Because if their rates haven't increased in 20 years, you can't say, well, they're the ones increasing the pricing. We need to look at the cost of insurance, out-of-pocket care, and how we ourselves are contributing to that. Everything from links to aging, pandemic after effects, and there is some degree of healthcare inflation that would be happening as well. So because this is where things like the STEP survey became really, really important, I think a lot of us were missing how important that survey was, because listen, if we're not taking care of our health, we're becoming more obese as a population, more type 2 diabetes, more lifestyle, problems, because we're living a sedentary lifestyle. We're not getting enough exercise and all this sort of stuff. We're having now teenagers who are starting to show fatty liver tissue, fatty liver syndrome, or whatever it's called, type 2 diabetes in young adults and teens. We see the cases of, colon cancer impacting younger people, and it's all tied to our diets, the consumption, the nitrates in our food, and all this kind of stuff. All of those things have a real impact on not just our quality of life, but also on the finances of our household and ourselves as a country as well. So we pay a price for the lifestyles that we're living. Food security continues to be a real and relevant concern. So food and beverage, according to this report, actually takes up a bigger slice of the budget, especially for lower income groups, where nearly $1 in $6 goes to food and beverages from the bottom 20%. Now, I thought that was interesting. Help me out here. Why do you think that the lower income groups are spending more money on food, so it's a bigger slice of their expense, than the higher income groups? It can't be that people with money are eating less food, I wouldn't think. So that kind of made me wonder, what would contribute to that sort of thing? Let me see if I can find. So this is where now kind of taking this raw data and asking questions around it, and maybe exploring the trends and what's actually going on, would be super interesting. I don't know that they've actually come to any conclusions. This was page 23 of the report, but it said that in 2023, $302.7 million was spent by households on food and non-alcoholic beverages, or an annual increase of 13% compared to the 2015 levels. The division's share of total expenditure surged as most subgroups had higher shares. So among the 17 subgroups in the division, the largest expenditure share was recorded for live animals, meat, and other animal parts. This was followed closely by cereals and cereal products, and then vegetables. I do find that interesting, and I'm going to tell you why. Even from the perspective of, let's set aside what we're actually spending for a second. Let's instead have a look at where we're spending it. Is it not very, very interesting to you that we're spending a lot of money in cereals and cereal products? One of the, hold on. Apparently I got to click this link again. Hold on one second. One of the least healthy things that you should probably be eating are cereals. Oh God, they're so full of sugar. We've been there, done that. But yet the poorer people who probably shouldn't be eating, they should be eating cleaner and healthier. They're actually the ones who, unfortunately, yes, they're the ones who are eating the least healthy. And here's the thing about it. The knock-on effect of even this, again, eventually on healthcare, is going to be significant. So I would not be surprised if there is a direct relationship or correlation between our eating habits for the poorer people and that bottom 20% and the increase in healthcare expenses for that same category of individuals, because their eating is really poor. All the way at the bottom is where you start to get into like vegetables. Look at how far down the list the vegetables are. So people are not eating healthy at all. Lots of juices, fruit and vegetable juices. Look at how much money we're spending under the category of non-alcoholic beverages. Coffee and coffee substitutes. Tea, for much lesser percent. Cocoa drinks, lesser percent. Water, soft drinks, other non-alcoholic beverages. So I think there's so many behavioral trends that you can also pluck out of this report that would no doubt be extremely interesting as well. Then they go on to restaurant and accommodation services. Let's read some of your reports. Thank you, Peter. I think it should be back on now. So yes, the fees that the physicians changed based on the SHIC schedule has not changed. Their fees have not changed in the past at least 20 years. You might be right, APOC. It's probably closer to 30 years by now, but at least 20 years for sure. Dean says, what we're witnessing is the beginning of the collapse of capitalism. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, based on what would you say? I don't know. And what are you going to be replacing it with? I don't think it's the collapse of capitalism. It's, if anything, it's going to be even more entrenched. But not necessarily to the benefit of the people, because you're just going to be paying more for goods and services. So this upward tick in our expenses doesn't mean that capitalism is about to collapse. There's a lot, I think, that is happening around the housing market and food spending and so on. The Economist, told y'all I subscribe to them, don't hardly get to read it, has a headline that says America's housing market is shuddering. So very, very interesting. It says for the country's homeowners, the good times are coming to an end. This report just came out August the 10th. And this is an example of how a lot of times, they get reports wrong as well, like forecasting. Sometimes they get it wrong. And they thought that there was a lot that was going to be happening in terms of post-pandemic housing markets. And they're like, maybe not. There's supposed to be a boom town, Miami, Austin, Atlanta, and 2-point-something% mortgage rates. And that's what all these cities were doing. And now they say the good times are coming to an end. The housing market is floundering. Prices have drifted down in the first quarter of the year, with most cities seeing falls in the past 3 months, and tight monetary policies have kept interest rates high. Now, a lot of these policies are You got to talk to the politicians about that, the Federal Reserve, and to some extent, even the political leaders are involved in the impact of some of that. So the other thing that is feeding through to the property market, President Donald Trump's tariffs, chipping away at the economic growth that had been keeping housing sales strong. And once again, I love how the US can give you pretty much real-time reports, which allows them to look at this and do some real-time analysis of what is happening as well. So a lot of cities facing a difficult number of difficulties. Fewer Americans move into the Sun Belt. Internal migration jumps. Trump's border crackdown may be making a difference by reducing international arrivals. Yep. Household building booms in those cities where demand was high and rates were low. So lots of public perception issues in terms of the tech. Austin was supposed to be like the new Silicon Valley. That really hasn't materialized as much as they thought. They talk about some of the worst performing markets in the Northeast are the holiday towns where prices are falling in Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and off the coast of Maine. Big city suburbs, another pandemic winner, seem to be faring a little bit better. And so, everything from the hybrid work schedules, states that fare the worst of all had a combination of these trends and a few peculiarities of their own. For example, Florida, you should know, is taking a hit. Some of you might own property in Florida. You might want to pay attention to this. Prices have already fallen 4% in the past year with the Florida market. And they're, once again, like I talked about earlier, high and rising home insurance premiums owing to climate change impacting places like Florida. So in Florida, for housing premiums, you're paying, the average is $11,000 or so a year versus $2,400, which is the national average across the US. So Floridians paying quite a bit more. And because we're so adjacent to Florida, of course, trust me, we're going to feel some of that. Another reason, sharp drop-offs in demand. There's a drop-off in demand from rich Canadians. So a lot of them, you might not know this, and I found this interesting, is a lot of them actually flee to Florida during the winter months. But not so much so since Trump's policies. And there's also new safety rules that have come into effect because, as I mentioned earlier, of the condo collapse in Surfside. And that happened in 2021. It's still having an impact even now. So housing is one of the big triggers in any economy to let you measure the health of said economy. So the feds, they're trying their thing. They say that they're keeping the policy tight so that they can squeeze out the last of America's above target inflation. So yes, there are some parts of the economy that are cooling. And so all of these things having a real impact here. All right, let me see here now. Thank you so much. Denny says the real return is a negative value. So one is paying the bank to park your money. Nat B says if you have Excel knowledge, a simple expense spreadsheet listing all fixed bills, mortgage, utilities, insurance, and flexible expenditures, subscriptions, emergencies, household, etc. Thank you, Nat B. And actually, someone had also privately mentioned this, that Excel is very, very useful. Yes, but Excel doesn't really come for free anymore, I don't think. I think you got to pay for Excel. So the question earlier was free apps that you could use. And Excel is not for the faint of heart. I think you kind of have to know what you're doing a little bit with Excel, although you can find a lot of templates that you could use for budgeting. So that is a good point. Rebecca makes an excellent point. And Rebecca, I need to do one right now on my phone now that you say that. She says, anyone doing free trials and subscriptions, put a reminder on your phone to opt out before they charge your card. So how many times have we done that and wasted money? We're like, oh, you know, the Chinese movies get me, girl. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch this one. I'll pay for a week and then cancel it. But then I forget when that week rolls around, legit, I forget. And then I'm like, oh man. So do we still have no radio? Okay. So yes, very, very challenging indeed. But these are little things. K-Man 49er says, yes, hidden forgotten expenses are a nightmare. I agree. Ooh, Strong Wilt says, let's not forget all the personal hygiene things like hair and nails. Those little things add up too. Yep. Hair, nails, y'all gotta buy your pound by the hair by the pound. And, you know, your little beauty treatments and stuff. Every little thing counts. Mellow Fellow says, good morning, Miss Sandy. The international recommendation for the household budget surveys every 5 years. The last survey came out was 2015, but 2020 was COVID. So I guess that's why the survey wasn't done in 2020. So we are doing, hold on. Are we using the 5-year trend? I'll have to double check. But I do want to get the past surveys because I think doing a comparison between them might actually be very, very interesting as well. So if they did, I'll have to look at the dates again. So they say that it was implemented, mandatory and survey implementation. Cabinet approved the field work. Let me just see, probably skip to the next page. But thank you for that. That is interesting. Probability proportionate to population size. But still, I mean, big shout out to the ESO because they do a lot of work. And I think they're kind of one of those departments that go unappreciated, right? Quite a bit. All right, Abby says, remember, parking your money in a bank long-term is a loss to inflation. Also, credit union is 1% return per year. Credit union's 1% return per year is abysmal. Well, the question is, where are you going to put your money? Because this is one of those things that certainly when it comes to like investments and stuff like that, a lot of people gamble with their money. And so there is that possibility, I suppose, that you could do that. But if you do that and you lose, then you're going to have a problem. At least your money is safer in the bank, yes, than it was or is elsewhere. Let's talk about something now. Let's park this report for a second, because there is something that I had. Miss Julia Hyde said, Sandra, this is my favorite topic. Cayman doesn't have an income issue. Cayman has a spending issue. Yes, indeed. For most of us, that's true. Ms. Marjorie says, however, you must try to enjoy life in the way. Cooking for one is not nice. Well, eating out isn't good for your waistline because you don't know what they're putting in it. And also you do waste a lot of money. So perhaps the thing, Ms. Marjorie, it becomes a question of balance. Eating out every single day is probably not how you enjoy life. Eating out maybe once or twice a week, that's a treat. So it really comes down to, I think, exercising a degree of restraint and knowing how you can enjoy life without enjoying life 24/7. Because some of y'all want to enjoy life like you're rolling in it. You're a millionaire. And so that is certainly interesting, but it's not realistic to be able to live your life that way unless you are actually a millionaire. And even them, they've got restraints and stuff as well. Speaking of investments, there is something that I want to touch on now that so hold on one second. This came in on Instagram. I'm just trying to find the Instagram message. So give me one quick second. So when we did the story on Robert Thompson Jr., right? This was last week. I think it was like Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday before my surgery. Obviously, we haven't really had a show up until yesterday. And so there was someone who made a comment and I looked at it and I just had to shake my head because I didn't even know what y'all be talking about. But let's just go back to it because I do think it's worth addressing. This person, they got 17 likes. Good for them. It just demonstrates how there is a lack of understanding about what media does and what media's role is in a community. And of course, we've done things a little bit differently. We have sort of redefined perhaps some of what media does. But this person seems to think that we are in the business of making people feel good and protecting people's reputations. Good for you. Aisle 2025 says, I set a budget every month. I put aside savings. Oh, yes. Thank you, Aisle 2025, because we should not forget the necessity to pay yourself in the sense that before you do anything else, you set aside 10, 15, 20% of your money in savings that you will not be touching. Not saving so I get another bill, or savings till my boyfriend calls me once to go out to dinner. No, you paid it somewhere and you forget about it. Miss Bertha says, yes, I've become my own barista. Good. Oh, you can make a good cup of something now. Isn't that right? Nice. Rebecca says Google has free budgeting templates. So yeah, there are things I imagine that you can definitely explore for free. But let me, I don't know what's going on with the radio. My apologies. I don't know. We had some issue with our original connection and then nothing I can do. I'm not, it's not, I'm not the radio fixer. And so how we normally connect, that isn't working. And so the alternative route they gave us, we can't really do anything about that either. So I can't do anything about it. All right. So let me see here now. Right. So someone said that they were, I don't know who Govan, what is this Govanly Music? This page seems to show little regard for anyone's reputation unless they're closely aligned with or contribute financially to its owner. Taking a biased approach by making a public post about unverified allegations does not align with the stated purpose of promoting Cayman. Rather, it reflects a self-serving agenda that risks damaging individuals' reputations instead of uplifting the wider community. So I am confused about what this person is talking about. And so I did want to address it. Let me just take the opportunity, I guess, today to address this. We are a media house, okay? We're not here about a stated purpose of promoting Cayman. That's not what we're about. I don't know who told y'all that. We don't promote Cayman. Maybe that's tourism's job. They need to go talk to DOT or somebody else. But that's actually not our job. Our job is to provide information to the public. We try to do so in a balanced and unbiased manner, when it's straight news, if it's an opinion piece, then it's an opinion piece. And whether, in your opinion, that vilifies someone or not has nothing to do with us, quite frankly. Okay? So again, this was an article in relation to Robert Thompson Jr. Now, if this Govinly Music actually read the article, this is where I get very, very confused, because you guys see a picture, you see a headline, you don't read the article, because in fact, had you read the article, you would know that the article presented his side through a party that's very, very connected to him. It presented his side of the story more than anything else. The police have been mum on this. They haven't said anything about whether he's been technically arrested, what his status is, nothing. But his side has said, nope, he's just called in for questioning. That it was some client of his who, got it wrong. He wasn't trying to steal. So if I was looking at this objectively, I would say, oh, wow, this article is actually very favorable to him, because it gives his side of the story and not what the allegations are from the victim's perspective, or even from what the RCIPS, who have said nothing, would potentially be saying. So y'all need to learn to read for understanding and clarity. And you also need to stop throwing out misinformation out there about CMR that, we have little regard for people's reputation. That actually isn't our job. People have to manage their own reputations. If you're in a public space, okay, and you care about your reputation, then it is your job to manage your own reputation. Who told you that we're in the reputation management business? That's a whole other business. Clients pay for that, and that isn't what we do. We try to give people an opportunity, just like we did with Miss Wannabe Cayman Universe the other day. We gave her an opportunity. All this stuff is being said about the pageant. Call in, explain what happened. She had her opportunity. She didn't do herself any favors. You think that's our fault? We ain't got nothing to do with that. The pastors, some of their reputations is more in the toilet than the poop that y'all took yesterday. We give them an opportunity. Call in, clear up your name. They call in. On here, they're like, oh, no, I haven't been married 3 times. I've only been married twice. And everybody's like, He got a wife in the United States of America that he was trying to use to get status that apparently over there that he's forgotten all about. Cleaning up your reputation isn't our job. That is not what we do. You manage your own reputation. You clean up your own reputation. We don't say anything, certainly not on purpose, and we're happy to correct it if we get it wrong, about people that makes them look bad just for the sake of making them look bad. This is news that is circulating in the community about Robert Thompson Jr. So what are you saying, that we shouldn't report news because he's a Caymanian and it's going to affect his reputation? Okay, let's take that and broadly apply that to everything in life. We have Caymanians who are involved in stealing, murder, money laundering, all sorts of activities. They're in court every single day. They're the ones taking up the court list. You're saying that we shouldn't report on any of that because it's going to affect people's reputation? That is nonsense. Unequivocal nonsense. And it is absolutely ridiculous to also say that if someone isn't closely aligned with or contribute financially to the owner, really? Yeah, okay. That's also ridiculous and nonsense. Take accountability, folks, for your own reputations. Y'all want to be in the public space doing the most. You've got to be mindful about what else you're doing out here that could be impeding or impacting your reputation. That's not my business. When we have multiple people coming to us and saying, hey, this is what, this guy was arrested, the police came to his workplace, In fact, you want to talk about reputation. let's talk about the fact that even the company that he works for, I think he's part owner in the gym, they had to send out a message in relation to the reputation now of their institution. So give me a second here. So they sent out a message last week, Wednesday. Somebody sent it to me. Hey, did you hear about this? What is this all about? So we report on what's happening in the community. A lot of times it's not traditional news in the sense that, oh, okay, it's just a big story about a politician or whatever. No, that's the thing that's different about CMR. We're community-based when it comes to news. We cover a wide range of topics. So yeah, people are fighting in the streets, they're doing this. We cover all of that. But this is something that is circulating in the community. So the implication here, in this person's opinion, is that I shouldn't report on it, or CMR shouldn't report on it because it's going to negatively affect someone's reputation. You don't need to give up this stupidity that you come with and these ridiculous comments. One thing that I can tell you in 2025 is I don't care who you are. We try to report without fear or favor. And I'm going to give you guys an example now of how Govenly Music doesn't have a blinkety blink clue about what they're talking about. Okay. So the gym sent out this message saying that we're aware of the recent news involving one of our shareholders who operates an independent personal training business at our facility. The individual is not involved in the operations or management, but obviously ownership. The allegations under investigation and concern the individual alone and are separate from Lift Studios. So this is how little Mr. Clueless, Govenly Music, this is how people deal with their reputation. They issue press statements. They issue press releases. They address it head on. Media doesn't sit down to ignore information or news in a community because they're worried about your reputation. Your reputation is your business. And y'all better know how to deal with your reputation. So I'm going to give you another example to prove a very recent example. And I had no intentions actually of talking about this story, but I'm going to talk about it because sometimes y'all be trying to put Auntie on the spot. And I don't like to be put on the spot, first of all, especially when the allegations or the innuendo that is out there is completely false. So let's take a look at this. I think it was week before last, there was an article that was published about, oh Lord, the lawyer there, Mr. Brady, okay? And the fact that apparently the article says law firm faces dual eviction lawsuits over unpaid rent. You guys remember this story? Published on August the 5th. Now, if we are to believe Govenly Music, that I take a biased approach by making a public post about unverified allegations, like I said, the respondent, the story, if you read it, was largely telling Mr. Thompson's position, right? But they say that unless someone is closely aligned with or contribute financially to its owner, everybody who lives in this community would probably know that I am closely aligned to Amelia, who works at Brady's. She is my lawyer, okay? My criminal lawyer, and I also consider her a friend. So I can call her and say, boy, these popos calling me again, Amelia, get in their asses. And she's gonna be like, they can't leave you alone, right? So here's a perfect example of an organization that I am closely aligned with, and yet they were published. There was a story published about them in CMR, in the news, that was not favorable towards them whatsoever. How does that, what's your name? Govenly Music, explain to me how this makes any sense. There are numerous examples of where that is a crazy allegation and cannot and is not supported by any evidence whatsoever. Just because y'all have an opinion and you believe that something goes so does not mean that it goes so. In fact, there are people who reached out to me in relation to this. Oh my God, is Amelia going to be able to represent you? Because now Brady's going to be upset. He's going to be in his feelings. So the publication of this article could actually negatively affect me, because he could say to her, he's her employer. He could say, no, you can't work with Sandy anymore because she published this article, which is factual in every sense of the word. But because she published this article about us, which technically wasn't me, but my organization, we can't do business with her anymore. That is not how we operate. And I said to someone who was connected to the Brady law firm, I said, listen, Renee has instructions, right? She writes a lot of the court news, a lot of the lawsuits filed, et cetera, et cetera. She knows the perimeters under which she has to operate. The basic perimeter is make sure the facts are straight. So she goes to the judicial website. It is a public website that she has access to. And she writes stories all the time on judgments, on lawsuits, on all sorts of stuff. I do not interfere with what she writes. In fact, she does not even ask or tell me what is coming down the pipeline. So just like all of you, when this article popped up, I was like, oh, snaps. Let me go read it. Huh? Yes, that's how it works. And you know how else it works? I'll give you another prime example of a recent publication. Same sort of thing happened. Miss Joy San, bless her little heart. I like Miss Joy San. I have no problems with Miss Joy San. Recently, Miss Joy San was in the news. And so, you know, this whole thing came up about her being in the news. What was she in the news for, et cetera, et cetera. You know, something about her husband, and he had a conviction and past conviction. And now she wants, you know, y'all were blowing up my phone. Oh my God, Sandy, I did not even know when the article dropped, because once again, same website. She goes through the website. She picks articles that are of interest, community interest, legal interest, whatever, and she publishes them. She does not have to come to me and get my permission. Like, oh, I'm about to publish this story about Joy San. Do you know this woman? Is she a friend? Do you like her? Renee doesn't live in Cayman. She not business with who you are. None of that matters. We are in the news writing business. And so if you get touched by the news writing business, you get touched by the news writing business. And it is what it is. So I know it makes y'all feel better, I guess, to jump up and to try to talk foolishness about, oh, you know, if she likes you, she's not gonna publish about you. Y'all are crazy. And the people who know the real score, because I've told them already, there's a lot of these young people out there. I'm like, honey child, I might like you, but if you get yourself in trouble and you end up in the news, your ASS, it's after 9:30, is going to be in the news just like everybody else. I said, you know what? If I'm writing the story as opposed to another one of my staff members, the only benefit you can get is I'm going to try to pick the best looking picture of you, because I'm your friend on social media, so I can see all the glamour shots that you be doing, and I will try to pick the best picture. You don't believe me? Ask the likes of Cindy or anybody else, and they will tell you, Auntie not playing. I've told them this for years. You find yourself in some shit, yes, you're going to be on the news just like everybody else. Jake says it's sad that you have to explain this to people. You know, it's sad that here we are 8 years in and I have to explain it, because most people understand it. But, you know, we have this little, I don't know who the hell Govenly music is, and 17 people liked it. It's just like, all right, we have 17 people out of what, 80,000 people that still don't understand. So I'm like, let me break it down for y'all, because you're still not understanding how this works. So no, I'm not here to protect your reputation. I'm not even here to protect the reputation of the Cayman Islands or promote the Cayman Islands. That is the job of your government. Go talk to them. Ask them how they're protecting their own reputation. So yes, every single time I expose a government entity for misuse of funds, for spending and wasting our money, for corruption and this and that, you think I should remain silent as a talk show host or media publication because, oh, that's going to make us look bad? Bobo, take a look around. Every other TikToker, they come here and they buck their toe. All of a sudden, it's some big oh, well, I bucked my toe and I had a spliff in my mouth, and then these police came and they make a big story out about it because they're looking for some social media clout or whatever. You don't think that those things impede and impact our reputation? And what are you gonna tell them? Oh, don't do a video about being arrested in the Cayman Islands. Don't do a video about the deplorable state of our beaches and how disgusting public beach is now. Or how you're being accosted on the beach, or, people approaching you about drugs and all kind of stuff. Control your own damn reputation by doing the right thing. That is how you control your reputation. And if there's a misunderstanding and you want the opportunity to clear your name, well, y'all know how to find me. You know how to pick up a phone and call me, and feel free to do so, because that's how that works. Simple. Y'all are confused about what it is that media does. And for the record, thank you so much. Positive 100 Upliftment says, and she's the best lawyer in the Cayman Islands, Miss Amelia. I have to agree with that. She's a great lawyer. Right? So I saw someone trying to take a dib at her in the story. Oh, she not dealing with her client. And I said, listen, I don't know nothing. I can't speak on the rent situation. I don't know Mr. Brady's business. I'm not getting into it. I don't know his bank account statements. None of that I know anything about. But when you start talking about Amelia now and her skills as a attorney at law and how she represents her clients and how she goes to bat for her clients, you're not coming at her with no shit. I can tell you she's an excellent attorney. Now, she's a defense attorney. So y'all know 95% and probably 90% of her clients are guilty as hell, guilty as charged. So the fact that she gets any of them off is probably shocking, but she does her best. And y'all don't even know, I'm not getting into it, but y'all don't even know that trying to give people proper representation in this country has at times even put her in harm's way. Because these same Caymanian fools out there, boy, if this person get off and this murder coming for you and all kind of foolishness, this woman gets up every day and represents people who maybe would not have any decent representation. And until you have been before a court of law as an innocent person, not a guilty person, not a person who actually did it, but as an innocent person, you will not appreciate the importance of having good legal representation that can bring forward all of the facts in your case. So I responded to that person on Facebook and I said, don't come for her, because I don't think that that's a fair comment. The majority of her clients know what an excellent lawyer she is, right? And she represents her clients and she does so well. And if she, for some reason, is not able to do it, she brings in the heavy hitters. She'll bring in a KC. And they'll work together collaboratively to put forward the best case for their client. I have been on the receiving end of that, so I would know. I'm just saying. And yet, that has nothing to do with the fact that Mr. Brady apparently not paying his rent, and the landlord is saying, pack your bags and go. And we will report on these things. As simple as that. All right, Cayman Bracker, I don't know why you can't like comments. I have no clue. Miss Ethel, good morning. Cayman Brack also says Amelia is an awesome attorney. She is not a sellout. And like I said, this is just the reality of the world in which we live in. She's connected to, obviously, she works for Brady's law firm, and if they're doing stuff with their rent and whatever, like I said, the lawsuit was filed. I know that Renee would have written, as any of her writers would, an accurate summary of what is in those legal documents. We don't make this stuff up. We don't go around making up news, okay? What is this one about? The king. This is the application. Application for default cost certificate. This is for the, what's it called? This is for the lawsuit in relation to, when the last government was trying to make changes to the National Conservation Council. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, a lot of times I don't even go on here. Ooh, Keith Barnes, he up in here again. Keith William Barnes Jr. Isn't that the one always stealing from people? I think somebody was messaging me about him the other day. Although I think they misspelled his name. Oh, family court. Somebody trying to divorce him. Divorce applications, you don't actually see any of the details on it, just says divorce application. But I think they have Keth, K-E-T-H. I think it's supposed to be Keith Barnes Jr. I'm going to let the court office know they probably misspelled his name. Yes, but I mean, you know, sometimes I like to have a little look on the list, but I don't have much time for that either. Percival Garfield, Ebanks deceased application. You see all the probate stuff. You know, there's quite a bit of stuff that is here. Ooh, they have the Frank Hall, a deceased, his probate. Oh, when did he die again? So y'all just need to get over it. Y'all will be fine. And here's the best thing. I mean, if that's how you feel about CMR, then don't read CMR. I mean, it is pretty simple. You don't have to read our publication. But we don't really operate with favor or anything like that, you know. In fact, if you guys listen to me carefully, I try to be objective in, you know, the things that I say, and even when I'm giving compliment, I try to be accurate and objective. So even yesterday, I was talking about my experience with my knee surgery, and I said, listen, I'm not telling y'all that Health City is perfect and they get everything right and they're above reproach. The company that they were using misread my MRI report. What I said yesterday, though, is yes, that happened and that shouldn't happen. And I went to Dr. Benoit and I said, hey, this happened. I spoke to Dr. Naranjan and it was dealt with. Immediately, he said, we will cease doing business with that company. They have their internal radiologist coming, their in-house one, but even so, we're not going to continue to do business with that. Thank you for the feedback. You see, that's the difference. Y'all would want me to be covering up shit if it was HSA or somebody. Oh, don't talk about it. You know, don't tell anybody because that can make government look bad. That can make HSA look. No, fix it. Things happen. All of us understand that no business is perfect. No person is perfect. No entity is perfect. But when something happens, the things that people want to know is that it is being addressed and it is being fixed. And that has been my experience with them. That if something comes to their attention that is a problem, they're not going to beat around the bush. They're going to fix it immediately. And that has meant sending some staff, including physicians, right back to India because they did not have the bedside manners that we expect here in the Caribbean. They're not going to keep them here and make every excuse for them under the book. No. They put them back on the next planes. They bring the next one that we're going to have to train better. So I'm sorry for you if y'all are confused about what my role is as a media house with CMR, what our role is as an entity, as an organization. It's not to make you feel better. It really isn't. Go find a therapist for that. Okay? Or Kirks. Well, Cameron Baca saying that her opinion of who the worst lawyers are. What a mess. Oh, Lord, have mercy. All right. The nature of something being favorable is always dependent on how is like versus how it's hate. Who is like versus who is stated. And, you know, like I said, we don't care. Everybody's fair game as far as I'm concerned. What do you call it? FAFO. Faffle. You fuck around, you find out. And it's just so shocking because, you know, even in terms of, you know, politicians and stuff, y'all think I'd be currying favor with politicians. Listen, every single one of them know. They might not publicly say it, but they well know. You fuck around and you're going to find out. So you toe the line. I'm not here to be your best mate. You and I are not sleeping together. We don't have that kind of relationship. It can be a mutual relationship of respect, right? And I'm here to help the government. I'm here to show the positive things that the government is doing. But when the government screws up, you'll know about that too. Recently, there was one, and I like him a lot. I'm not going to mention any names. He is one of my favorite people in government right now, in fact. And I've had a long, even before he was an elected official, I've had a long-standing relationship with him, a professional relationship, and personable in a way, right? Likable person. And there was something coming down the pipeline for one of his areas of responsibility. And he said, oh, you can't just tell me what it is. I said, nope. I said, I'm not going to tell you what it is because at the end of the day, it has to be publicly exposed because we're talking about public funds. And that for me means accountability, right? So I can tell you something's coming. I can tell you it's not going to be favorable. It's not going to look good to your, ministry. Don't take it personal because nothing like that. But the people, this is our money now that's running this country when the country's in a deficit like it is, $62 million because that last government. We, the people, will ultimately suffer because of that. And we need to know the truth, the cold, hard truth. And so, yes, I will ultimately put that information out there, provide that information. And it's not to make any particular minister look bad. So God knows they do not need to be getting in their feelings.
Our money now that's
Hello,
running
caller?
this country, she's in a deficit like it is $2 million
Hi.
because of
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Is this Miss Sandy?
Yes, hi.
Hi again.
Hi.
This is positive.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
getting ready to come and meet with you because, as I said, it's rough.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless you. God bless you. God bless you again.
Thank
It's
you.
rough. And if I can watch your foot one day, I will.
Oh, gosh.
Trust me.
No.
No, I have. You know the problem that a lot of people don't understand
Mm.
in life, and even this place that we are at right now, the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
Give Caesar what due to Caesar.
Mm.
And as I tell you, many times I talk to you, and I will listen to you, and I will, even if you buck heads, but I respect the very ground that you walk on.
Thank you.
Why? Because you said it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And you would tell me if I'm wrong, and you would tell me if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Some of the story may not add up because some people just run with some stuff. But when you can go in between and see things, well, let me tell you something, girl. I have to come and meet with you. And as I said, I see a thing where you speak about Miss Amelia. Miss Amelia is one of the best lawyers in Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever hear anybody say anything bad about her, I want to tear them up. And I am not supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what due to Caesar, give it to Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yep.
I went and spoke with someone yesterday because they were working on the ambulance. So I want to talk to you one-to-one. You can just tell me what time and when. And I will come. I will force it.
Yeah, we'll probably have to do it online, child, because I can't drive or anything right now. So
I know.
yes,
I know.
but I appreciate
I know.
it.
But trust me. And you are covered by the blood of Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter who people want to say, what people want to say. You are covered. God is with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It is a lot that you need to know because you will know how. But as I said, I'm not literate like that to tell you at all. You'll break it down in your own words. But when I tell you this stuff, then you will see. It's a lot persons put me through here until they get to burn me up. Yeah.
Thank you, my dear.
But God is good, and thanks again.
Yes, ma'am.
Was able to get last night paid for. I don't know about tonight, but
yes.
I going back to NAU again. They approve, but these people don't want NAU, and that's my problem right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Thank you,
keep on your good work, and you don't have to watch your back. God have your back.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
God have your back. Be blessed.
All right,
Love
dear.
you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning, how you feeling?
Hey, not too bad, you know.
So
Yeah, man, coming along nicely.
well, you'll soon be able to kick people in their ass again. Anyways,
Yes.
I'm just calling to complain about the HSA pharmacy department up here, but this has nothing to do with the pharmacist, Mr. Dow.
Okay.
Now, they give you a WhatsApp to send your medication renewals to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always give them a whole week's notice. And this time on the 7th of August, I sent it to them for my mother with her full name, her date of birth, and asking for the renewal of her prescription and reminding them of her eye drops to be included. Now, I went there after the 7th of August. I went there last Friday to pick up her meds, which is more than, I think that's about a week or a little bit over. It wasn't ready. They told me 2 minutes. So I sat out in that hot sun. They got this canopy outside the door. And Sandra, in this type of time of the year, it's like a furnace in the brack. And you sit out there for 35 minutes sweltering in the heat, still no medication for my mother. They had ample time to renew it. Then I couldn't wait any longer, so I left them. They wrote down her full name, her date of birth, and her phone number. I said, could you please call her? And I gave him her address where she lived. And the bluff. Could you deliver it to her? Because I'm on a limited budget and I can't keep running up and down because people are not doing their jobs up in the HSA pharmacy department. And I'm pissed this morning. Now today is Tuesday. Nobody has called my mother. Nobody has delivered her medication, and she's completely out. Now this is the surly service we're getting now because they are on a lockdown and a hiring freeze, and that's a bullshit lie. People are flying up here now, moving up here to work at the HSA up here. So I don't know what hiring freeze they have on, Sandra. And I'm annoyed. And I sent them one voice note this morning. I forwarded it to you and told them about how annoyed I am about the service. That's horrible. Suppose my mother had life threatening medication she need to be on. You got to be running back and forth to that pharmacy to collect it. That's why I am always very accommodating to people and their time. 1 week and change they had on that WhatsApp, and they even acknowledged that they received it. And mine was there as well. Finally, I got mine before I left, but hers hadn't been done, but it had to be checked. I mean, you all had the time. And this is the bad service coming out of the HSA, and they need to fix it, especially in Kim and Brack. Oh, my God. And try to fix something where people is in air conditioning, waiting on their medication. That tent outside in the sweltering heat is not healthy because there was an older lady sitting out there, and I said to myself, she got to pass out soon unless somebody come bring her a bottle of water to drink. I don't know what's going on with our country. It's like they're not bothering to address the imperative things and the stuff that will carry precarious situations over the fact that they want to look good with photo pictures and videos about their 100 days of bullshit. All it's been is talk. It's not been no results. I want to see what this 100 days of results has been, because it sure as hell has been nothing at all from what I can see. And I stand to be corrected if they actually cut their toenail of one elderly person and say we did something. Y'all have a great day.
All
Take
right,
care.
my dear. Thanks very much. And speaking of the 100 days, I believe some representatives of the government are going to come on and talk about that. So we'll give them every opportunity. This person says, good morning, hon. I pray your knee is doing well today so far. They're always at CMR, like you're the only one who that does the news. Why don't they go and stop CNN, Jamaican News, BBC News, etc., to stop bringing the news? They need to shut the hell up. Everybody gets talked about or will be talked about. However, do good and it will be published as good news. If you do bad, then your asses are going to be called out. So shut the hell up and leave CMR alone, says this person. What a hot mess. Speaking of that, just a couple of days ago, I saw the Jamaican, I think it was Gleaner, maybe Observer, I'm not sure, one of them, actually had headline news about Cayman's most recent drug bust. This was the one now with over 1,500 pounds of ganja coming from Jamaica, of course. I mean, the news was rich. But anyway, they carried the news in relation to that. I think it was I don't know if it was the Observer or the other one. I can't. They're almost the same in my head. But anyway, they were talking about Cayman drug bust, and that made bigly news. And so again, when you talk about our reputation, if y'all would stop doing foolishness that lands us in the news, we would have what's it? Jamaican Observer? What's the other one called? There's the Observer and the hold on. There's the Observer. What's the other one called again? The Gleaner. I think it was the Gleaner that might have had it. I can't remember now. One of them I saw it on. But yeah, I mean, if y'all stop being involved in news, this is August 16th. That's right. Here we are. We wouldn't be, highlighted in such a negative way. You can't stop news, folks. What you can do is just be on the right side of things, and y'all will be okay. What a mess. See, there we are making big news. 1,500 pounds of marijuana on board. I understand that it was, let me see how the makeup go again. It was at least one Caymanian fool involved in that. So my sources said 4 people busted on Wednesday night, East End, 1 West Bay, and 3 Jamaicans. So, no, sir. All right, let me see here now. Okay. Another person says, honey, chill. Good morning. If you think Cayman is expensive, try Boston, Massachusetts. It will blow your mind. What a heat. Yes, sir. All righty. And again, for what you're getting, I mean, and complain too. Okay. All right. Let me just see what else before we start to wrap up here. This person had to be careful. Him go inside my car, and I forgot to lock my car. He was trying to steal your car. Oh my gosh. What a mess. Hot tamales. And speaking of reputations, right? Lately, some of you have been posting all sorts of stuff about different companies and organizations. And sometimes they do reach out to me for advice. I'm going to give them the advice that I give them all, is you have to be willing to sit down and address these things head on. Whether it's Caribbean Utilities Company, it's a medical facility, it's government, whoever, just address it. Just talk to the people and tell them the truth and what's going on. Because one of the things that I have, one of the observations that I've made is that when you sit down and you don't respond, even though sometimes it's nonsense and you don't respond to it, there will be a certain segment of the population who believes that you don't respond because it's true. And so, even from medical facilities, oh, this facility did this to my baby and that, whatever. And that isn't actually the case. And they can prove that it's not the case. When y'all get up in these women's groups and you're in these private chat groups and you're circulating all this negativity around that impacts the reputation wrongfully because it's defamation when it's not true of these organizations, I tell the organizations, go on record, show your evidence, show your proof, and address these people. Because they know, some of them expats from Canada, y'all know who I'm talking about now, Maple Leaf people, Maple Leaf Mafia. They know that that is not what transpired. But they want to throw these local organizations under the bus, right? And the latest case that was going viral last week, the father happens to be a lawyer at a local law firm. I'm like, if all of that had went down in the way that he claimed, he would have already been trying to sue somebody. Not having his wife get on social media telling a bunch of lies to do reputational damage. Now that's reputational damage, right? To organizations, I tell the organizations, don't make these people play you for a fool, because they believe that they can get on a public group with thousands of people. They can get in their What's Up Moms group and they can have the most to say. And they're counting on the fact that you're not going to respond to them. Y'all better start responding. Come with your facts. We will certainly get CMR going to give you the platform. Come with your facts and demonstrate how you will respond. Y'all don't remember during COVID, there was an incident with the Children's Hospital there in Miami where a parent had said, okay, they had said XYZ. I'm not going into the details. It's still up on the website. I forget the name of the Children's Hospital now. But anyway, we reached out to them as a media house and we said, you know, this is circulating in the community, Nicholas Hospital. Is this actually what happened? The hospital said no, and they issued a statement. Okay. Yes, they issued a statement. We're not telling people that. And so Americans know how to deal with y'all when you be rolling up on them like fools. In Cayman, I find that organizations are a little bit more timid. If you're on the right side of the fence and you know that what these people are accusing you of is wrong and you've done your part, you've done the best, you've offered the best care, quality care, blah, 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 don't allow these people to go out there and sully your name, because that's what they're doing with it, misinformation. I don't let nobody sully my name with misinformation. That's why at any point in time that Robert Thompson Jr. wants to come on here himself and set the record straight of exactly what transpired, he is more than welcome to do so. Him or anybody else for that matter. We give people the platform to be able to set the record straight. I'm just saying. Okay. Kirks. Thank you so much. Fear No Evil says all the Cubans getting the good treatment, they're receiving all the medication for free, and Caymanians are being left out. I wouldn't say the Cubans getting good treatment. Have you seen where the Cubans are living and stuff? You're lucky that none of them not died in that fire yet. I wouldn't quite call that good treatment. And when you have asylum people in your country or asylum seekers and they're going through the process, there's a minimum level, just human rights, a minimum degree of care. You can't abuse people. I mean, that's not how it works. So, Anywho, thank you guys so much. Oh God, I looked at Jamaican Gleaner. They even covered the former Miss Cayman Universe found guilty of assault and all sorts of stuff. Lord have mercy. We always making the news, just y'all don't pay attention, so you don't know what's going on. Not for nothing, but just saying. All right, folks, that's all we got for today. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Make sure you tune in. We can talk a little bit about the situation at the Bananas. Cameron Rocker says they're being treated inhumanely by all standards. We shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back about how we're treating the Cubans. That's not an example of how we are getting it right. Trust me. Somebody says that Jamaican YouTube had the fighting in church on his channel too. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is the world that we live in. So I don't know what y'all be going on about, but y'all need to get over it. And quite frankly, I don't care. If you don't get over it, you'll be fine. I know I'm going to be fine. Whew. All right. So tomorrow, we'll probably touch on that incident a little bit with the fight, I suppose. Not that I really want to. I'm sick and tired of y'all fighting like worse than animals. ICCI president is leaving. Stolen vehicles end up crashing into each other. Go figure. Let's talk about the Brack Lighthouse property hitting the market. I think that's interesting. And we can also look at this Privy Council case as well, because that has some serious implications there. Jake says, it's only because it's you, Sandy. Child, they be trying me. They do be trying, but poor them. They will be perfectly fine. They'll be just as good as my knee. Feeling fine and dandy. Can't even. But yes, they like to take a jab. And, I don't know why, because they know I got to set them straight. I mean, The truth will set you free. That's my philosophy in life. And I'm not sitting here on no perch talking about I'm perfect or anything. You know, I get it wrong sometimes. I'm quick to apologize. Even this thing with Frank Schilling about fake news, and y'all jump up as long as they say fake news and anything under CMR posts, y'all jump up and be liking it. And it's so funny because he has private message about, oh no, the other publication got it wrong, and this and that. One long ass explanation that don't really make no sense. And the way the whole country does their valuations. I'm like, huh? Say what? Eh? But because he put up fake news, y'all go and like it. And you don't get to, I don't care, I don't give a shit if you Frank Schilling or Frank Schilling mama. You don't get to come in an article that we have looked at and we've looked at the source documents, et cetera, and call it fake news and then think that you're going to get away without a direct response. Because you're impeding, speaking of reputation, you're now impeding on our reputation. And then when you DM me and say, well, I don't want this to be a public discourse, what I'm telling you now, this is just so that you can understand. So I can understand. I don't have a problem with understanding shit. We need to put it out in the public because you have put a statement in the public that something is fake news. So you're trying to make us look bad. But then when you come back now with your tail between your legs and have something else, like, it's not quite like that because there's a little bit of confusion, but don't put this out in the public. Why? Why are we not putting it out in the public? Because you sure enough did put your comment about fake news in the public. So maybe what you need to do, and this is what I'm saying to him, unless you want me to do a whole show addressing what you've actually just said, okay, then perhaps you need to remove your fake news comment. You see, that's how we're going to have to flex around here. You don't get to come from behind the doors, behind the scenes. I'm going to tell them right now, perhaps you need to remove your comment. Otherwise, you force my hand to do a full explanation in all this. That's how it works, Bobo. That's how it works. And all of the 29 plus people that liked it, you see, they don't have a clue now that you're DMing me with a very different story. All right. I'm just saying. Anywho, Strong Wilson, Sandy, they are right until the doctor sees them. Sandy does, in fact, make sure she gathers the receipts to support and protect herself, her show, and her guests. That's the cold, hard truth. Jim will know, like before he even came on the show. Jim came on the show and he had a lot to say. And people, the person he was talking about didn't like it. And they reach out, but miss, that's not true. And I've contacted my lawyer. Contact your lawyer. Some of y'all need to contact your lawyers more often because maybe you'd be more compliant, especially with the labor and immigration laws of this country, if you were in regular communication with your lawyers, because I can't imagine that your lawyers would be instructing you to break the laws. So contact your lawyers. Anytime they say that to me, I said, good, contact your lawyer. And now I can't hear back from him, Jim. He was supposed to come back to me with the real version of the story, the real facts, and all now. That's because before Jim could come on the show and open his mouth and say one single word, he had to send me documentation that I could verify and I could see with my own 4 little beady eyes. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then when other people contact about that not true, I said, really? Because I've seen the messages, I've seen the emails, I've seen the documents, I've seen the file, I've seen this, I've seen that. So come again. I'm just saying. Jim says, yeah, because he's a bold-faced liar. Well, seems so to me. And I hear nothing more from him or his lawyer. And that is how it works. Come with your evidence and come good. We have another editorial that we're going to be putting up today when it comes to consumer protection. A mother had purchased a baby monitor, and her experience that she's had with that company has been quite something. Shocking experience, in fact. And she's like, Sandy, these companies need to shape up. They are, demonstrating that they're trying to take advantage of hardworking people and the little bit of money that we have that we're trying to spend. And so all of those things get exposed as well. We do a lot in this community, not to pat myself on the back, but we really do, to try to help consumers as much as we possibly can by making you guys aware. Speaking of being aware, please, there are a number of scams that are circulating very, very heavily on social media at the moment. The latest one now is this one with the Honorable Premier. The Cayman Islands Premier launched a national financial platform. These things are lies, and I don't know how they get away with it. They put together these fake news things, and they even have Cayman Finance mentioned in it. This is all an attempt to, get you to separate from your money. So be very, very, very diligent, folks. Do not click these links. Don't engage with them. I mean, look at how bold these people are. They use Cayman Finance. They even got the Compass logo in there trying to legitimize it. They have a picture of the Premier. I'm talking about every Cayman Island resident can earn a passive income starting from $5,000. Don't be fooled by this ridiculousness. Okay? There's no such thing as a passive income without doing some work. And so, yes, Aliana, these are AI scams. And I always am shocked that the people are actually commenting on this sort of stuff with, how do I get involved? I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? This is how you get scammed. So leave it alone. These are all scams. Nobody not gonna just be paying you $5,000 to do nothing. I'm just saying. Okay. All right. Anthony, how you been? Haven't seen you in a few days. Says that's why investors like Shillings is not healthy for the BRAC. Everything he owns, he sells very quickly. The BRAC needs someone that will invest and bring long-term economic substance to the BRAC. Thank you for your opinion. All right. Jim says you bring it, and we are thankful for you and for the CMR platform. Thank you, sir. Tracy, good morning, Tracy. She says, amen. All right, good folks. That's all we got. Javid, how you doing? Says they give away money to people doing nothing in the UK. Well, yeah, you're paying for it in other ways. I'm pretty sure that. Aliana says, I'm going to create an AI OnlyFans. You know, there are people who are doing that now, with AI characters and making all tons of money. So you don't have to be the one showing your toes to people. You can do like AI toes or whatever and make a lot of money. Speaking of that, there is a Caymanian. We got to talk about this because there's a Caymanian who has an OnlyFans page. And somebody messaged me about it. And to be honest, I don't even know how to respond. Let's talk about it another day because y'all got to give me some advice. Because, this sounds like an episode of Aunt Lottie because my brain is just like, I can't process this. But anyhow, OnlyFans is one option, I suppose. What a hot mess. Making them look at your toe jam or something. Because people pay for all kind of weird stuff on OnlyFans. It's weird. Some of it's like, ew. Anywho, Javid and everybody else, please have a blessed day. Be good or be good at it. One of the two. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Yes. Yeah. One day post birthday, I'm feeling good. The knee's coming along and I still got my crutches and still can't drive yet, but hopefully by next week, I'll be behind the wheel of my little car again, driving like my granny style drive. Although I might get arrested for inconsiderate driving. So I better wait till I can really drive properly because Popo will be finding another reason to arrest me too. All right, folks, have a good one. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. God's willing.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.